What's the worst call you've ever received from your child's daycare? The director called saying my 4-year-old was being difficult and needed immediate pickup. But when I arrived, I found her locked in a supply closet crying because she'd had an accident and they were teaching her not to wet herself. I was in the middle of a client meeting when my phone rang. Mrs. Chen from Sunshine Daycare never called unless something was seriously wrong. Mrs. Rodriguez, you need to pick up Emma immediately. She's having behavioral issues and disrupting our classroom environment. My heart sank. Emma was usually such a sweet kid. What kind of behavioral issues? She had an accident and is now being defiant about our correction process. She's refusing to cooperate with our teaching methods. I grabbed my keys and left work immediately. Emma occasionally had accidents when she got really focused on playing, but nothing that warranted an emergency call. When I arrived at Sunshine Daycare, the front desk was empty. I could hear a child crying from somewhere deep in the building, but the main classroom was unusually quiet. Mrs. Chen emerged from her office looking flustered. Oh good, you're here. Emma's in timeout right now. Where is she? I want to see her. She's in our reflection space, learning to take responsibility for her choices. Something about the way she said reflection space made my stomach drop. In 6 months at this daycare, I'd never heard that term before. Take me to her, now. Mrs. Chen hesitated, then led me down a hallway I'd never been in before. We stopped at what looked like a supply closet. She's been thinking about her behavior, Mrs. Chen said, pulling out a key. Why do you need a key? Sometimes children need isolated time to consider their actions without distractions. She unlocked the door, and I pushed it open. Inside the small, dark space, sitting on the floor surrounded by cleaning supplies and paper towels, was Emma. Her face was red and tear-stained. Mommy! She scrambled up and ran into my arms. I knelt down and held her tight. What happened, baby? Tell Mommy what happened. I asked Miss Jessica if I could go potty, but she said no because it wasn't potty time yet. Then I couldn't hold it anymore and had an accident. Miss Jessica got really mad and said I was being a baby. I looked up at Mrs. Chen, who was standing in the doorway with her arms crossed. You locked my 4-year-old daughter in a closet for having an accident? We're teaching personal responsibility. Emma refused to clean up her mess and apologized for disrupting class time. She's 4 years old. Accidents happen. Our policy is very clear about children taking ownership of their mistakes. We can't have children thinking it's acceptable to soil themselves and expect others to clean up after them. I stood up, still holding Emma. Your policy involves locking children in dark closets? Mrs. Chen's face flushed red. It's a structured timeout procedure. Emma could have come out any time if she'd been willing to take responsibility and apologize properly. The door was locked from the outside. She couldn't have come out. Well, sometimes effective discipline requires, this isn't discipline, this is child abuse. Mrs. Chen stepped back. Mrs. Rodriguez, I think you're overreacting. We're educational professionals with years of experience. Educational professionals don't terrorize 4-year-olds. I carried Emma out of that building and straight to my car. Once Emma was buckled in, I called the state licensing board from the parking lot. I need to report a daycare for child abuse. They're locking children in supply closets as punishment. The licensing inspector arrived at Sunshine Daycare that same afternoon. The investigation moved quickly once they started asking other parents about timeout procedures. Within a week, 3 other parents had come forward with similar stories. Kids locked in closets for crying. Kids locked in unused classrooms for asking too many questions. Kids locked in bathrooms for not finishing their lunch fast enough. The pattern was clear. Sunshine Daycare was systematically using isolation and confinement to control normal childhood behaviors. Mrs. Chen's childcare license was permanently revoked. The daycare was shut down immediately, and she was charged with multiple counts of child endangerment. Emma started at a new daycare the following week.